Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Doing Business in Bentonville. I'm Andy Wilson. I'm your host today. I'm so excited to announce our program this morning. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. It's what you're going to do. So my guest today, let's just get right to it, okay? Leon Nicholas, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We're so glad to have you and his counterpartner here, Kerry Bailey. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you.
We're so excited. And here's why. First of all, Leon, welcome back to Northwest Arkansas.
Oh, thanks. It's great. It feels like a second home, and it's great to be back to the second
so
home.
good
Who
to have
says
you
you
back.
can't come home again, right?
Well, you can come home. And Leon and I go way back on the DBB when we had live events. And Leon was a great guest speaker for us. And so now we have him back here in Northwest Arkansas. He's in our studio. And all the way from New England, New Hampshire. So
That's right.
Awesome.
Wish there were a direct flight, but no direct flight yet.
I wish there was too.
Yeah, that's fine.
And Kerry is local. You've been here like 30 years now.
Indeed.
Or plus, right?
Yes.
And he lives here in Northwest Arkansas. And we're going to get into their roles in their company. But I just wanted to spend a few minutes personally with these guys. We had a wonderful dinner last night. Great conversation. And you're going to really enjoy this topic. But let's get straight into about their company and their roles. They work with a great company called Smurfit WestRock. And I recently acquisition there, Smurfit, added to WestRock, and we can talk more about that. Leon is the Vice President of Retail Insights and Solutions.
Right.
What is that?
That's a good question. I ask myself a lot, and when I don't know, I ask Kerry. What that is it's a role. I've been in it now for almost 7 years, and I work across WestRock, Smurfit WestRock, and also the supplier community to better connect Smurfit WestRock's packaging and display and e-commerce solution portfolio to better connect that to our customers' needs in the marketplace, but through the lens of retail insights. That's my background. That's right, sort of I've come up through. And so what I try to do is offer an end market perspective to our customers, and also to within our company from a strategy perspective, to make packaging be the solution to the sorts of endeavors that our customers are trying to solve. So it's sort of a market in perspective.
And you've been in this space along quite a while in your career, right?
Yeah, about 31 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Great. Such a expert, and we're gonna really tap into Leon's expertise here in a moment. You're gonna see enlarge from both of these gentlemen today. Kerry, Vice President, WestRock, but you're in charge of the Walmart global business.
That's true.
So talk to us about that. What do you do there with Walmart?
Well, thanks, Andy. I appreciate it. I guess from our point of view, what we had lacked prior to my role was kind of an enterprise person that really took the whole organization. When in our CPG world, we talk about carrying the bag, for all the product you have. And in our world, we didn't have that role of an enterprise conversation or relationship with Walmart, Sam's Club. And so to bring the enterprise conversation to life between the organizations, my background served that role. I've been in business here doing work with Walmart and Sam's Club for a little over 30 years. And so talking from shelf execution to supply chain, and then obviously growing into the e-commerce space in this new age, just having someone that could talk universally around that, I think has served the organization well in elevating what we come to offer in the conversation around fiber, paper.
Right. Well, good. Well, again, both of you gentlemen, thank you for your time today. Thank you for being here. Now, let me introduce our topic today. Over the past several months, I have spoken with Leon and Kerry several times, and what they're going to do today is they're going to really help us understand this unbelievable space called e-commerce or omnichannel. When we began DBB, one of the things we focused on was the importance of omnichannel and understanding omnichannel. In fact, we try every day to demystify omnichannel here, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. But let's set the stage a bit, and let's talk about e-commerce. And since Kerry works with Walmart, let's just use Walmart as an example. Last year, Kerry, Walmart e-commerce did over $100 billion. Think about that.
Amazing.
$100 billion outside of brick and mortar. Now that shows where this thing is going, doesn't it? $100 billion. And then we just read recently, and I just spoke with Walmart recently, that Walmart has expanded the categories in the marketplace. And the category expansion, the multi-channel solutions, they have just recently had in San Francisco an innovation for sellers, bringing hundreds of sellers to San Francisco to teach them, to help them to grow the e-commerce business and get ready for the holiday season that's approaching quickly. So, Kerry, as you think about this on Walmart, this is where you spend your time, correctly?
Indeed. You make a great reference there, Andy. I mean, think about what we do in June when Walmart hosts the open call, where folks who are trying to elevate their business or introduce their business to Walmart, that's where they get their start, right? And they get the Willy Wonka gold card, and they get to kind of do the fast forward on product introduction. Right. But that effort right out there in San Francisco around the sellers marketplace, another good reflection of them bringing that new audience to the table and talking about how to grow in that marketplace space. So I think that number one, they have so much to offer, the intelligence and the opportunity to speak to such a wide audience. You look at today's shopper at Walmart, totally diverse shopper from where we were, 10 years ago. And so today, when the sellers come to have that conversation, learning how they're going to approach the marketplace space, I think is just so dynamic, because the same thing happens at open call. You have someone that says, I've got a really great product, and these emerging brands where Walmart's investing in those new brands and the emerging brands. And the audience that they get, the very niche audiences that they have the opportunity to speak to, are just so nuanced. And I think that their ability and what is necessary to get that customer on board, and then certainly how do you build loyalty behind that?
Right.
And I think that's an astounding part of what Walmart's learned in the last couple of 3 years since COVID, is how they capitalize on that loyalty factor within the omnichannel. Right. What can we sell to them in the store? How do we bridge that into their everyday shopping space in an online sort of way?
Wonderful.
I was just gonna add there. You're right. It's really two-way learning in that regard. Obviously the supplier learns about retail from the world's largest, right? And they learn fundamentals of go-to-market, scale to go-to-market, not just your small operation, right? But then, of course, Walmart, begins a much deeper understanding of some of the innovative dynamics that are occurring, the leading edge of where innovation is happening. And so this marketplace opportunity and the growth of marketplace, really is a two-way learning kind of conversation.
Great point. Yeah. Well, and that's exactly what we're going to do. I think you set up really nicely on what we're going to talk about. And as I mentioned earlier, is that we're going to get in very deep from these two subject matter experts with me today into what we're calling 5 principles, if you will. And what these principles are, we're going to walk through them one at a time, not only to educate you, but also expand your thinking and expand your knowledge around this massiveness called e-commerce. Because it's here to stay. We need to become great at it. Your customers are going to expect you to become great at it. And whoever is great at it is going to win in the marketplace. That is why Walmart has been focused so heavily on this, and they're making great strides. We know we talk about Amazon here on our program from time to time. Amazon does a great job in this space. They do a really great job. The advantage Walmart has over Amazon is the brick and mortar. So if you work for a retailer today and you have a brick and mortar, how do you integrate both of these philosophies and systems in your business? If you're not into that yet, you need to run and get into that, because it's here to stay, I believe. So Leon, in our conversation, we talked about these 5 principles. So let's get into that. So let's just start, and both, and I know both of you are going to contribute into that. And so let's go.
Yeah, let me just outline the 5 principles, if that's okay.
Yeah,
just
please.
to kind of set things up, and then of course we're gonna dive deeply into those.
Yes.
Into those. The first one I think is really, and I think you always have to start here, but it's really the sort of the state of the shopper. You know, where is the shopper today? Who is the shopper today? How is it has the shopper changed? Have there been some fundamental changes? And I would argue that there have been some fundamental changes in the shopper's makeup and in the shopper's approach to commerce. So I almost want to start there because I think that's important to understanding e-commerce. The second idea would be really the importance of the renewed importance of analytics and the richness of data that is available today, largely through different systems and different programs and the impact that AI will have in the future. But it's understanding also data in the context of really the alternative revenue streams that have been set up now in place. What Walmart, I think, is called the new flywheel. Yeah. Right.
Yes.
It's the addition to the productivity loop.
Yes.
Which is really really fascinating. So I wanted to sort of think about that. Mm-hmm. Third is sustainability. Sustainability having become table stakes now, I think, for so many companies out there. I want to talk a little bit about that and how with Walmart it might manifest itself a little bit differently. And so Kerry and I will probably have some time to chat about that. Fourth would be, generally speaking, here's this idea of the smart supply chain, where product is identifiable. It raises its hand and says, I'm here. And just how critically important that is from a supply chain innovation perspective, that the capacity for everything to be identifiable. And then fifth would be automation, kind of its close cousin, I would argue. And just how important automation has now become to end-to-end operations, all the way from fulfillment center all the way to the store. And what the implications are going to be for our industry of a more robotified and automated sort of supply chain. I don't know that necessarily our industry has really gotten its arms around yet just how fundamental a change this is going to be from the days when Kerry and I used to stock freight at the grocery store. I think within a few years, people are going to wonder what you're talking about.
That's a good point. I know when I started at Walmart out of college in the trainee program, I think I started in the stock room.
Yeah.
Unload trucks.
Yeah.
That's where it all began.
Yep.
And it ended at the checkouts, when the customers were satisfied when they left with the right
I did night price.
Yeah.
Stocked freight overnight, unloaded trucks and cut cases. And
So, okay, this is going to be exciting. Okay, let's do it. So let's talk about shopper, the state of shopper.
Yeah, it's fascinating. We've come out of this COVID period, right? And I think you've seen some really fundamental changes in the shopper. I think the shopper is much more health and wellness oriented now, having come out of a health crisis. They're much more oriented toward that today in a lot of different ways, and that manifests itself in sporting goods sales, but also in ingredient shopping, and people just much more concerned about that. I think the single biggest variable that defines the shopper today is the pursuit of value. Okay, now that doesn't mean that the shopper hasn't always sought value, but I think it's today top of mind for the shopper. And somebody goes, well, it must just be the lower income consumer or the high. Actually, that's not the case. Across the income spectra, we are seeing this enormous focus on the pursuit of value. Now, I would argue that you can look at this in a couple of ways, and I call this the numerator-denominator way to think about value. The numerator on the value equation is, what do you get, right? And the denominator is how much you pay, right? And I think today what you've got is middle, upper, and middle and upper income shoppers. They're numerator shoppers. They're very focused on what you get. They're actually paying a little bit more for something. So think about club membership. Think about people buying apparel, or in some cases consumer electronics that are seen as necessary, for their lives. They'll pay more for that. They're getting a return on their investment, but they're very focused on the numerator. On the other end is the shopper who's saying, listen, I'll even get a little bit less. I just want to pay less. So those are denominator shoppers. I want to pay less money. This is where I think you're seeing this bifurcation in terms of how people are thinking about value. They're both focused on value, just on different sides of the fraction. We're seeing shoppers much more focused today on trip management. Okay, so we're actually seeing, as a rule, trips are actually okay. They're fine. It's tickets that are down. And that's because the shopper is managing inflation, which the shopper still has not adjusted to, right? Because it just happened too fast, too rapidly, and too much. And so they're managing their baskets in many cases. In many cases, some of it is trade down, but in many cases what it is they're just putting fewer items in the basket. And so you've got fewer items in the basket, but in some cases actually trips are up. So they're managing their household finances that way. And then I think the last thing I would say is that you've got a shopper today who is much more inclined toward the array of private labels that are out there.
Sure.
We continue to see share growth. And in fact, over the past several months, the consumer packaged goods share growth for private label is actually starting to tick up again. As the shopper recognizes they don't actually have to make a trade-off for quality there, that they can get a very, very high quality product, and oftentimes with the latest trends associated with it, et cetera, at a great price. So we're in yet another wave of private label expansion. But again, for me, it's value. It all comes down to value. How that value gets expressed is very different, and sometimes that upper income consumer might not seem to be, focusing on value, but they are just at more in the numerator.
Right. That is excellent.
I think you make two great points. I'm going to ask you a question here in a moment, Leon. Set you up for a layup, but
good thing.
I think that the comment around private brand or owned brands is spot on. I mean, we see it all across the retail landscape, every single retailer investing in their own brands space, largely because many of the things that Leon referred to. But it's a good time for them to invest in it because they've elevated their awareness with the shopper. That's a tremendous platform for them to build loyalty on as well. And as I mentioned earlier, that loyalty component to retail today, in the absence of a lot of folks who used to fill that space. I mean, think about who we've lost at retail in the last 5 to 6 years, okay? Who didn't survive COVID at retail. The retailers that are left have to pick up that space. And so the ability and the timing of all of that in the investment of their own brands at this juncture really offers them an opportunity to exceptionally exceed their loyalty platforms. I think it's just tremendous for retail to make that investment now. And I was going to ask you, Leon, you were talking about the numerator-denominator space. How do you think that, I know I have my own opinion, but you look at the way shoppers are buying in the reference to the lower ticket, but the continued trips, has pantry buying gone away? I mean, pantry was something that we all spoke about because in a fluid economy, the shopper could afford to have a little bit extra in the pantry. And for a long time in our community, we talked about the stock up buy, the heaping carts when they got to the register, the family size bags of everything. Can just reflect on that from pantry buy, kind of sort of what it is?
It's a good question because it's fundamental to the economics of a big box, right? It's fundamental to those economics. Instead, what we are seeing is, particularly for the lower and to some extent, and actually increasingly the middle income consumer, they're doing less of that. They're doing more multiple fill-in trips because they can control expenditures that way. What I would say, though, is for the upper income consumer, or largely the consumer making over $100,000 a year, that household, they're still doing pantry loading, we'll call it, but they're tending to do that at the clubs. Okay, so the clubs become a beneficiary, and we all see the results. Recent results from the club,
from Costco, from
Costco, even BJ's. Very continued success, comping the comp. You know, right, and it's that is because that shopper can afford to say, I'll spend. I don't know what you spend, but I go to the club with my kids, $400 or something. I can afford to spend that at the club because I'm getting a better. I'm getting the value equation, as I said about earlier. It works out for me. I get more. I'm paying $400,
right?
But I'm getting more, so I'm focused on that numerator. So I can go ahead and make that expenditure. I can afford to make that expenditure. So you're seeing with the upper income consumers that stock up shopping to some extent might become more a purvey of those who can afford a stock up.
I think it's interesting when we're walking stores and clubs in general, looking at the dynamics of the shopper themselves, because like you, I have younger or married children, and when I watch them shop, how they shop at a Walmart, and then also to that point, how they shop at a club.
Yeah.
And when our club audience, our Sam's Club team looks at their next shopper beyond my wife and I, what's that next generation looking for? What do they need? I can see them grooming the assortment. Obviously they need the 210 count diaper box, right? That's hardly enough, right?
Right.
But beyond that, what do they need in their home, to sustain on the paycheck that they're taking home today?
That's right.
And I think it's real interesting to watch them massage the mix and then how they're speaking to that younger generation, that next shopper element. A lot of dynamics going on in that.
It's the mix, and it's also, as you know, we have with kids that age, the comparison used to always be Sam's versus Costco, and that's still very much I'm not suggesting otherwise. Right. But now the club program for younger generations is Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Right? That's their club.
Yeah, correctly. Yeah,
right?
They pay membership.
Yeah.
Just like they do the club.
That's their membership.
Yeah.
And so you're competing against, it's not just a different retailer, it's a different go-to-market approach.
Marketplace,
right? Where an Amazon will have, what is it, the streaming video, or various other ancillary types of programs to sweeten the value of that membership. All of a sudden now, that comes into play here.
Well, staying with the customer for a minute, let's talk about this. Let's talk about dollar stores for a moment while we're here with the customer, because this for the first time in years, I don't want to say decades, but years, dollar stores are struggling. We know what's happened in the past, and the growth of Dollar General and others, it's just been on a speed. But now all of a sudden, what's happening to dollar stores? So as we think about the customer, what's your thoughts on that?
I think it's really interesting. To your point, Andy, I kind of had to smirk a little bit in the latest headlines where, Dollar General felt like Walmart was getting their dollar, right? And so it's interesting because I think as families, even in different demographies, as families or households have made those quantifiable decisions that Leon was referring to earlier, that numerator, what am I getting for what am I getting? And I think that when they're walking into a Walmart, for example, they're seeing a broader assortment. They're seeing an offering that's just more appealing today. And I give Walmart a lot of credit for having the clarity and the cleanliness of that merchandising philosophy at retail that's really winning out over that dollar shopper, that Dollar General shopper. Wow. And then I don't think you can forget, Leon, the value in the Walmart supply chain. Yeah. The bigger retailers finding value in the supply chain. Wow. They're passing that on. That's our EDLC, EDLP model. Yeah. And you can't beat that. You can argue it, you can arm wrestle all you want, but those are pennies to the table.
Well, we were Carrie and I were walking a supercenter around here just yesterday, and the reality is now, one of the ways that Dollar the dollar channel used to succeed against Walmart was they offered a lot of smaller price points, oftentimes whole dollar price point, 1, 2, 4, etc. That gave you the sense that, okay, if I've got $5 at the end of the month, right? The fact that, say, a big box would have, a 40-pack of water for $4.99, well, there goes my $5. But I could meet a broader share of my meal requirements, pasta and sauce and bread and everything else. I could get more stuff, more components, more share of my requirements at a dollar store. But what we noticed yesterday when we were walking, among a lot of things we noticed was, hey, wait a second. You walk right in here into the produce section. I see price points here. They're 25 cents, 58 cents, good price on bananas. You've got a lot of lower price points in there to attract that, let's call it dollar store shopper. That is important. The other dynamic for the dollar store shopper is, in many cases, that shopper who, certainly Walmart has benefited, but there's also a significant class of the dollar store shopper that has traded to the food banks. And there's no question we're seeing an increase in that. The other thing that's happened with dollar has increasingly been, over the past several years, been attracting a more middle and upper middle income shopper. You certainly could say that about Dollar Tree.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That shopper has said, do I really need 20 balloons for my daughter's birthday at the Dollar Tree? I need 5. That has hit them. So the discretionary purchases, which can be higher margin, the discretionary purchases at the dollar store from the upper middle income shopper, I think that pain was realized in this last quarter, realizing its absence.
This is such a great discussion around the customer. And I want to just go back on the line something, Kerry, you said. I think you said it so well that, Walmart has created clarity in their marketplace, if you will. Right. Because you walk in, clarity on price points, clarity on assortments, bringing that their private label, introducing new private labels for under $5 or whatever. Right. That's the learning. I think if you're in the retail business today, back to what the gentleman said, it's got to be a lot of clarity in that. Because if not, the consumer's hit with so much.
Right.
And it's really on the retailer to create clarity, online and brick and mortar.
Exactly.
So great discussion. Wow, I love it.
We got a lot more to say, but we're not going to get to those other 4 pillars if we keep going here.
Okay, well we're going to move on. All right. I knew this would be a great opportunity for us, but the depth here from each of you is so great. And but there will be a part 2 to this. Leon, Kerry, thank you again. It's been so wonderful having you. You have to come back.
Okay. Well, as long as you invite us, we'll be here. How's that?
You have to come back. Your knowledge, your insight on these topics today was exceptional. I know I have enjoyed it thoroughly. I know our viewers will enjoy this. I would tell you that I'm encouraged. I'm inspired by your comments today, your knowledge. As a person that loves retail my whole career, what you have done today has encouraged me. And to our guests, thank you so much for coming. To our viewers, thank you. It's been great having you. Thank you for what you're doing. You continue to do just great things with us. You talk about it. I get wonderful notes from many of you on LinkedIn. Thank you for that. Let us know how we can improve always. You are continuing to grow our viewership. We're now in multiple countries, I think 30 plus countries. So thank you for that. We really appreciate your time. Again, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure having you. I look forward to our next conversation. Thank you all. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Thank you.